Hi everyone, Michael from Pixeesoft here. Welcome to our daily scrum. Now, I know that there has been quite a delay between the standard cadence of our daily scrum videos and the last stand-up and now. And while I feel sorry for that, I had to do some work that might be called invisible. You know, that kind of work that just doesn't seem to be as the most important one to our craft, right? But someone has to do it. And that someone, unfortunately, was me. By the way, if we're just meeting, I'm Michael, I'm from Pixeesoft, and this is our developer show. And with that, happy World Programmers Day. Yes, that's right. It's today, September 13th, that's right. Only on leap years, it's on September 12th. And so I hope that you take this day and code some Hello World example in a completely obscure language. Now, I will not name any because I wouldn't want to insult anyone, but I myself, I don't know. I've been working with Kotlin lately, so I can't call that obscure, and it's quite mainstream now, but it wasn't mainstream years ago when it first came out of JetBrains. Anyway, let's get going to our daily Scrum contents. So right here, we have our Scrum board as we left it after the previous sprint. And we had some issues that we were supposed to tackle. So for instance, here was this one, the big one, test integration of GCS with eater and feeder. So for those of you that haven't been here in the previous stand-ups, GCS, Google Cloud Storage, is the object storage in GCP, in the Google Cloud Platform. Eater and feeder are services, either one consuming data and feeder feeding the data to the client. And what we did was that we were rewriting these two components to stop using the OpenStack version of object storage, being Swift. We changed it to Google Cloud Storage, which is actually quite easy to implement because they have very nice SDK written in Python. And what we needed to do was to test it. And now you can see that both of these are ticked. Data gets saved. Yes. Data gets retrieved. Awesome. Data gets deleted automatically. Why isn't this box ticked? Well, I'll make that for you. It's now ticked, so that means that this issue is now done. However, it wasn't as straightforward as everyone hoped it would be. And in fact, I had to take it to Google engineers because the problem was that I've created a bucket in the code, in the Python code, created a bucket, uploaded some objects, and first I tried to set the metadata property, the one that you can find on a blob object. However, the program kept crashing, saying, oh, this property is read-only. I was like, okay, fine. How do I do it on the object level? Seems like that's not the way it works. That's not a problem. I'll adjust, but tell me, what do I need to do? So what I needed to do was set expiration date, set rules for when the contents of the bucket are considered stale or old, and then act upon it as we like. You either can put it to nearline, put it to cold line storage, or you can delete it altogether. Now, there are various ways how you can set these expiration dates. You can set a date, a specific date. Let's say after 15th of September, I want you to delete everything. Well, but you see, that's useless, right? Because that's only once for a bucket, and then what? What do you set it again? Does all the data just disappear, or how does it work? So that wasn't the way to go. But there is an H property, and you can tell the container, all right, so after 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 1 day, Everything that's older than that one day, delete it. Perfect. That's exactly what we needed. That was exactly what we need. We want to retain the data for 3 days, for 5 days, for 7 days, for 1 day, depending on the device that sends the data over to our platform. Perfect. Well, seems straightforward, right? Created a bucket, just set standard storage class, and then in the UI, right? In the UI, I went and clicked older than 1 day, delete. All right, came to it next day, looked at it, and data was still there. And I thought, funny, wonder what's wrong. So I reached out on Slack, on the GCP Slack channel, in the cloud storage, actually, channel, the hashtag cloud storage. I reached out and I said, look, is this normal behavior? How often are these cron jobs, supposedly cron jobs, or when are these tasks that clean up the storage performed? Is it once a day, twice a day, specific time of the day, or is it completely random? Turns out that it might take up to 24 hours for the new policy to be implemented. All right, fair enough. I'll wait 1 more day. So I waited another day and still nothing. And at this point, I started to be slightly worried about, if I put all of the production data into it and this is what happens, then I might find myself in a huge debt, or I might find the company going bankrupt because of the costs for the storage. And so I was combining patience and also, let's say, some detective work. And eventually I went to Zurich for the Anthas Day. Now, Zurich, one important shout out here in Switzerland, just celebrated 15 years of Google. So congrats, we love you here. Anyway, at Anthas Day, I spoke to an engineer, and a Google engineer looked at my code, and I asked, well, first of all, the bucket is in US. Why is it in the US? Why is it not in Europe? And he looked into my code and said, well, I can see the bug there. You have an extra space in that string, Europe. I was like, okay, that's a beginner mistake. I felt really embarrassed. But then he looked at the settings for the bucket and the expiration dates. And he said, there's nothing wrong with it. There's just nothing wrong with it. And he said, you might be able to file a bug because everything looks perfectly fine. The setup is just fine. Eventually, he went for the IT crowd solution. He said, did you try to turn it off and on again? And so what he did was that he deleted the policy. He set it up again, exactly the same way it was set up. And he said, wait 1 more day. And if it still persists, then file a bug. Well, lo and behold, 1 day passed, and suddenly the objects started deleting themselves. Well, that was very anticlimactic, and I don't feel satisfied with that answer because I don't know what was wrong before. Was it just a glitch in the matrix? But what if this glitch in the matrix happens to one of our customers, and suddenly they have months, years of data stored in the GCS and we're paying for it? I don't know. I might have to add some form of watchdog and maybe once a day run this watchdog on all of the devices and check that the storage doesn't have more data than it should have, which is a bit scary. Not sure that it's the right way, but unless GCP can give us some insurance or maybe some, let's say, checks and balances to make sure that the data doesn't stay there when it's not supposed to stay there, I'm not sure what other way I need to be taking. Anyway, so continuing on, deploy MongoDB service seemed like a really important task to do. I said, well, the data, the rough data, is in the GCS and the metadata for it is in MongoDB. And that was a wrong assumption. MongoDB actually is saving the metadata for the post-processing server. So we first need to have the post-processing server or MongoDB with the post-processing server, which some of you might see that is right here. Well, in that case, I'm just going to move this one completely down because now that's a non-pressing issue. However, what I will work on is create containers for cron jobs and maybe even deploy some of them. I might not do all containers and then all deployments because, as you see, this is large and large. That's 2 days. We have only 1 day. But maybe I'll do 2 and 2, and that would combine 1 day of work, and the most important containers would be done and deployed. Now, if you look at this, deviation cleaner deployed, export cleaner deployed, scheduler deployed, biller, notification cleaner deployed. Now, we don't have the export server deployed yet, so maybe the export cleaner is not the most important one, but definitely the scheduler, the biller, and the notification are ones that can already be deployed and might already be beneficial for the service if they're there. So those will be the 2 of the tasks, partially, that I will be occupying myself with. And as I said, there will not be another stand-up in this sprint. The reason being that I spent quite a lot of time while doing all of the invisible work that I mentioned. I still spend a lot of time on debugging and going back and forth to the platform and debugging the storage. And so I think it's only fair if I cut that last day, because all of the little days here and there where I did 1, 2 little bits and bobs of work, they might all accumulate into a whole day of work. And so that's where I'm going to end this sprint, the sprint number 4. We'll see how far we get, but you know the drill, as usual. After this stand-up, after today's work, I'll then sit down and assess everything that has been done, and we'll shoot our regular sprint review. And that's exactly where I'm going to end today's sprint planning. Daily scrum. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. So that's where I'm going to end it, to not babble too much. But thank you for watching. Thanks for being with us. If you have any questions regarding GCP, GCS, anything regarding what we talked about, leave a comment below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What I failed to mention was all the integration with all of the services that I had to deal with. Yeah, maybe just a quick elevator pitch. You know, we talked about all of the various PHP services previously in our previous stand-ups. All of them seemed to be working great together. Well, when putting all together with the GCS, the Python code, and when they were supposed to be talking to each other because now we were persisting the data, yeah, they pretty much refused. And there were various reasons. And maybe to not bore you with the details, I'll sum it up in a blog post on our blog, pixeesoft.blog. Go check it out because there's going to be a lot of movement on the blog in the upcoming days, because I might even write a just sum up of what happened in Zurich on the official Anthos Day. And with that, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you on our next sprint review.